Okay, hello. This is Can't Not Create. I got stories from artists who got their start either later in their career or are somehow monetizing it or making a larger scale side hustle or hobby later on. Just here to inspire people with their own creative pursuits or just watch others do the same things. Today I have someone who has been inspiring me on social media for a while now. That might be news to Yoav, but that is true. I want to introduce Yoav. He's the ceramicist behind Sivoov. Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah,
Perfect.
I'm
Yeah, it's perfect.
nailing the pronunciations. Also a developer at Gusto, a tech company, and my own company's payroll and HR platform. So yeah, for quite a while now, like at least 7 or 8 years. You're married to one of my favorite people that I studied abroad with, your wife in college, have intermittently stayed in touch ever since, mostly when I need like a recommendation for a restaurant, like literally anywhere. And she has done a very nice job of being a supportive partner and showcasing your work here and there. And that's how I
Yeah.
first came across all of your stuff.
Giving me all the restaurant recommendations in the world. I get them firsthand. It's great.
Oh my God, yeah. You guys just have no money at all left. Like if I did what she told me to, it would be like,
It's all gone. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't you? I was looking around at your website and everything you've been doing and seen it along the way, but it'll come better straight from you. So tell me a little bit about what you've been doing with ceramics and any other related projects and what got you started
Sure.
on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good timing. I think right around this month or so is 10 years since I started doing pottery.
10 years, cool.
That was a random kind of like a walk that I went on a walk with my mom, and she does ceramics. She got me into this.
Oh, okay.
Can I set you up with my teacher for a private lesson? And was hooked ever since. On and off, but mostly on over the past decade. Between then moving to Seattle and San Francisco, every time I moved, took it a little bit of time to find the studio and the community where I could do more of that. But with each and every one of those, I also learned a whole lot. And now in this place, nobody knows, but this is a new thing for me. LA about 4 months ago came a home studio endeavor with it. So now I'm not getting the community as much, but definitely getting to do more pottery and looking at the aspects of setting it up, building a trying to build a business around it. The whole, you mentioned Instagram and the shop, all of that stuff has been the past couple of years. But otherwise, just a lot of pottery and making fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. That's some good backstory because it's always interesting. I think you can always assume that if someone just shows up on your radar with what appears to be a fully developed skill, this probably isn't the first time they're doing it. But sometimes it feels like that. I'm taking the opposite approach. I'm like making this newsletter that's follow along while I learn to become an artist with not a
I
whole
wish
lot of
I could.
experience backwards. Yeah, I was like, by the time I'm a good artist,
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
hopefully
I,
have a few people paying attention to me.
yeah, I only have one reference point that is similar to what you're doing here, which is like that private lesson. I have that first bowl that I ever made, and I'm so happy that I have that. But I'm happy you get the whole process of growing with your work, business and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's fun because I knew I wanted to do something creative, but it's like, how do you make that? I don't want to say jump because it's not like I'm not doing my current job. I have no plans to abandon that. I like it. It's going well, but it is nice to think that one day you could have options of doing things. So I guess how have you reconciled that with your current job, or is it just a nice complement? Do you have any plans for when you're 60? Do you still want to be doing both, or would you on the right track
But
just run into the ceramic side?
yeah, I've been in tech for 25 years now. I'm happy to be done when it's done with me and dive full in to doing pottery. That's at least the current plan. And this is, still exploratory. So again, first time I have my home studio and it's like as much as I can, I go and make stuff over there. Maybe I'll find out that I don't want to do this full time. And maybe it creates another plan in the future of, yeah, keep doing tech for another 10, 20 years, who knows? Maybe a mix of the two, maybe consulting, and a part of the time will be tech, and a part of the time will be this creative outlet. Don't know yet, but at least I knew that I wanted to start setting it up, start making this kind of like experience. There's a creative aspect of designing a website. There's figuring out my flavor of Instagram profile and like photo shoots and just enjoying that process. spending hours and hours, if not days and days, on like a style of reel that I really want to make but don't know how to. So it's just fun in both the learning experience part and the creative outlet of multi-medium type.
Yeah, it's nice to hear you say that because I'm trying to dive into everything all at once where I'll make a piece of art, just a drawing, and I'll be like, I want to share this. And I'll be like, how do I do that? It feels so obvious. I'll take a picture and be like, there's a terrible picture. Same with reels. Sometimes I'll be like, I want to film the process and then share that reel. And same exact thing. I'm like, this is going to take me just as long to make the reel as it longer than it did to take the thing. And I get very impatient and just want it all done the second I've thought of the idea. But it's nice to be like, yes, the same thing as like the person who just jumped onto the scene with ceramics has been doing it for a while. The person who is coming out with some great reels maybe thought about it for a couple days and didn't just put it out there. But it does seem like this whole other job on top of the artwork. What has it felt like for you as you did ceramics for a long time before you tried to turn it into some jumpstart to a business? What was the difference before that? Were you doing a lot more time spent on pottery, or is it more net time, or do you have to divide it? I'm just curious because that's what I'm grappling with is like how much time do I spend doing the newsletter and social media thing versus actually doing the art, which was my ultimate goal.
I think it fed like in a cycle. So wanting to do this came just at some point through conversations actually with our, funny enough, our financial advisor. Part of the things we talk about are just what do we want to achieve? And this was an
Hmm.
interesting question or a set of questions actually. And digging into, I do want to get to a point where if I'm able to leave tech, I would want to go into that. So that backtracking from that got me to a point where I was thinking, okay, to do that, here are some steps I can take now that don't make me fully committed to leaving tech and trying this as a full-time artist. And this was one of them. So I was like, you know what, this year's goal, and that was back in 2023, I think, is to set up a shop, set up an account, figure out, play around with a logo, a name for something. I have memories of sitting with Katie just at a restaurant and just going through Hebrew words that might be sounding nice and are related to pottery. Sivoov, for example, just means spin in Hebrew.
Yes.
So it fed each of those passions fed the other. So getting that going, I was like, ooh, now I have an account. I want to get stuff made. So I went to the studio more and I made specific things that I really wanted to be able to photo shoot and then learning to photo shoot and getting responses, the feedback cycle for that from social media also invigorates it or makes it very exciting to keep chasing. So I hope that answers your question. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, totally. Because I think that's, again, encouraging. And it's just funny because I was reflecting on when I reached out to you, I was like, I know Katie's husband does like some really cool ceramics. I've loved looking at it. I also took a
Thank
couple
you.
ceramics classes last year, and I'm just so bad at it. It's like
I'll show
one of
you.
the
I
hardest things.
should, but even now I make things and look at them a year later. I'm like, oh my God, how could I have sold this?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to relish in or enjoy the gap that I'm seeing between stuff I made and stuff I make and just be like, okay, that's progress. Let's focus on that. And
That
it really feels like that.
every time I do something that I'm like insecure about, even like these interviews and putting out videos, I'm like, you know what? I want the videos, like the interviews to be good enough to not like do a total disservice to the folks I'm talking to. But if they look so much so scrappy and amateur, there's just like that much more room for the contrast of how they could look one day.
I agree.
Um, but yeah, I was just thinking, I don't actually know to what extent you're thinking about this just as a little side hustle versus something that maybe could be more of a full-time thing or a real true supplement. Without getting into numbers, I think the tech industry is so attractive because you can get a pretty decent salary. And so it's maybe I feel comfortable and my finances are secured, but it just feels like a much bigger loss to change to a very different career. And you're like, how do I reconcile that? Do I either just really put my nose to the grindstone and work up like a really big safety net? Or do I do like this bigger leap and just go a little more all in to the extent that, like, I don't know, this very cautious approach to going all
Yeah.
in could be?
And I'll be honest, interestingly enough, it also all happened at a place in work, honestly, that I wasn't as happy. I can say right now that I'm not itching or I'm not rushing to quit tech as quickly as possible. I probably will
Hmm.
that step if it presents itself, the opportunity. but I was just not enjoying it. And I was like, okay, that's an outlet or a self-made light at the end of a tunnel, and kind of like creating a goal and creating an almost, I don't want to say a distraction, but an alternative state of mind to be in, to feed the soul, basically. Doing that was the catalyst back then. It's not so much the same today. So I'm comfortable with continuing this balance. I'm spending more and more time, obviously, with building and now having a studio basically 15 feet from my bed. It just makes it easier to do more. And as I do more, hopefully I get better at figuring out operations of shipping, figuring out easier photo shoot situation, because it also takes so much time, even if it's
Those
not.
are the things that I'm like preemptively worried about.
Yeah, it takes time. Also, I think specifically because I'm trying to do ridiculous stuff with my photo shoots. I don't know if it's very noticeable to others, but to me, I try very much specifically to make it so that the piece is floating or seems to be floating in the picture.
Hmm.
And that takes a lot of finicking around and just figuring out like how to balance it on like the stupidest stuff that I have at home. So it just specifically is taking me time, but doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be that way. Definitely for photo shoots, I wouldn't expect that normal ones, I don't know how to refer to that, would take that long, but really I'm enjoying it. I'm just
Yeah, you answered a lot of things there. I got stuck on the photo shoot because that was something I wanted to ask about because I was like, you do have such beautiful photos, like it's ridiculous. And so it has not gone unnoticed. But I did, so when I took ceramics, like at the end of the term, they would put one of those like light boxes up so that you could take nice photos, but like the backdrops were like scratched up and you're like just using your iPhone. But it was still like such nice photos compared to sticking something on the table and being like,
some
there's a
people
picture.
some people do a great job with just sticking something on the table if they get the lighting right and the background is interesting.
Yeah, not
I'm
me,
not at
but
that level yet. It's
uh,
more, it's also just, I just like a little bit of color. So my page is like, you open it and it's just like a blast of 15 different, very high saturation colors. Just the style that I'm enjoying right now. Who knows if it will even remain forever, but
yeah. No, I
it,
love that because I always see all these like calm colors and things and everywhere. If you look at my newsletter, the colors I chose, they're like hot pink and red. And I was like, I think this might like upset people visually, but I can't help it sometimes. I just
great
have to.
choice. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me, because yeah, I'm like going so many places. I like the big picture and like career things, but also the tactical stuff. So when you say it takes you a long time to do a photo shoot, what does that mean?
There's also a bit of a funny story there. So before this office in LA, in my office back home in San Francisco, I had my monitor in front of me and desk here, and then a window to the right where the sun would rise. So this is pointing east. There was like only, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes of the day where the sun is bright enough to get, I didn't have all my photo shoot gear that I have here. So
Hmm.
getting enough of that really beautiful sun in without it scorching the background paper or the piece itself.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
so I had just windows of time. So getting a full photo shoot would maybe go over days, but not because I'm spending days doing it. Just it's half an hour,
right.
half an hour there, depending on weather. Depending, it was
What time
really,
of day would that be?
yeah, it's like 12 to 12:35. It almost like
Oh,
lunch over here in the photo shoot situation. Now I have a lot more gear that I let myself spend on to just let's just jump in and do it full on. So a couple of lights and a bunch of backdrops that I just received last week actually. So I'm excited to take some fresh photos. Um,
okay, cool. Yeah, that's funny. I always do artwork late at night. Like that's when I
uh,
just my brain lights up and wants to do it. And I always try to photograph it like right after, especially lately when I'm like, oh, let me like put a picture in the newsletter or something. And I'm like pushing that out the next day. And I'm like, I could not pick worse lighting. Like what I'm doing. And I'm like, let
yeah,
me turn the flash on my camera and turn it over this like
right.
terrible. Yeah. So that's definitely like on my mind. I love like, I don't know, you're giving me a few thoughts or just like little reminders to be like, calm down and don't try to do everything last
And
second or like in
it's
one day all the
just
time.
also gear wise, it was literally performance paper. I think that's the name, and a phone camera. That's all that it was, and like maybe a $25 tripod for stability, or if I wanted to do the
Yeah.
same several times till I figured it out. That's it. So it can definitely start very lightweight. It's more about
Nice.
when I set this up, I went crazy, basically. I went all in.
That's like a whole other hobby now. It's like the photography, right? Yeah, no, you can go so many ways with that. Let's see. So another kind of tactical thing that I wanted to ask about is just again like the website thing. You set up a pretty nice website, and this is like rudimentary, but it's like what I'm starting to think through. I don't have a lot to put on a website right now, but like the wheels are turning. And you're a developer, so I was wondering, do you use those skills and apply that to the website and the retail e-commerce side of things, or are you just all I need is Squarespace or Wix or whatever for this type of thing, and there's no point in going down that other road?
Yeah, I'll start from the end. I just use Wix. I looked at a couple of them, was mostly interested in the integration with shipping. So like how can I make that the easiest? And
Hmm.
it seemed like with Wix and GoShippo, there was like a really good integration. I think maybe at the time also the way the inventory from Wix would sync into Instagram. Just did a bit of survey. I think I started an account on many of those, Shopify and Squarespace and whatnot. And that just felt like the nicest one to me. So I just went with it, but didn't use, I don't think, a single developer skill for that. I
Hmm.
used normal non-designer, non-tech user experience for building a website. But also, funny you should mention that. That's another thing that I look back a little bit like that first bowl, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't like the photos that I have there. Those are ones that I really jumped in,
Yeah,
picked everything I have from home to create a photo shoot with a white background and low quality pics. And I'm like, I would, and
right.
it's on my list right now. I have a long list of tasks that I'm doing. And another, now that I have those backdrops, one of those is do a new photo shoot, basically. At the same time, I've seen other people that I really appreciate just not have a landing page. You just come in and there's the products and that's it.
Oh,
So that might make it easier because those products are at a higher quality of photos that
okay.
are
I looked in like all of the under the shop
pretty
section.
thick.
They're all really beautiful, but you're saying on the landing page, just the first
Yeah,
photos.
I think there's maybe I don't need to do anything, but I think there was a like a place where you could see here's all your bowls, here's all your mugs and vases and
No, that's on there.
category picks are gone. Yeah, I hated it for so long that I removed it and then but yeah, that's a thing that I'm looking to do, like maybe a redesign of it now that I found some colors that I resonate with.
Yeah, no, that's
Mhm.
cool. And it's comforting again to know like even a developer would just use what's accessible to a layperson. But sometimes I kind of wonder, and I think what bogs me down is just that the design element is so hard. I'll look at all the templates and be like, I don't like these. And then I go to try to make my own, and I'm like, oh no. So I'm
It's
not quite
really
there yet,
fun
but
though.
it's in everything. The newsletter I'm doing, Instagram, everything. I'm just like, it feels so daunting. You have to figure out the design and everything and the themes and colors all at once. And I'm trying to let that part of my brain go and be like, just do it. Just do something. Put it out there.
Where I feel lucky is I did have a little bit of interest in just Adobe kind of stuff, so Photoshoot and Photoshop and Illustrator. Some experience there really helped to make stuff that feels, again, yet another creative outlet of just like design.
Yeah. Never,
A lot of fun.
it never ends. But yeah, no, definitely good to have like multi-faceted interests there. Let's see what else. Okay, one thing that when I reached out to you in your email to me, you responded that this just felt timely. You were seeing this trend across tech, people wanting to either take a break or just explore other creative paths. And I feel like I'm seeing a little bit of that too, but I'm curious if you wanted to talk about that a little bit, like what specific types of things you're seeing or conversations you've had and why you think that's happening now. Or is it something that always just happens and we're just at that point where we're witnessing it for ourselves?
Yeah, so the pattern is, I'm not going to name any names, but basically I've seen, I think, 4 or 5 different past colleagues or friends of friends or just friends, and all of them basically saying, you know what? I don't even know what I'm gonna do, but I'm out of this space. I'm gonna be done with this. I need to like change something. I wanted to explore
Hmm.
opportunities. Or other terminology that I've seen is I'm open to all paths that may come. I'm walking and we'll see where it goes or where it takes me. Um, and again, I think you mentioned a little bit of confirmation bias. I don't know, but it may be that, but it really seemed, it also might be the age group of the people around me that makes it more possible than when I was 25. Maybe I didn't know that many middle-aged men who are seeking their next
Right.
phase. But it sure seemed like something around COVID, something around relationships, around tech and where it's going, AI and where it's taking it, all of those things maybe coalesced together into this like moment of people feeling empowered to say, wait, what's going on? What do I want to do?
Mhm.
Can I balance things? Can I change things? And it was really nice and validating to see it basically all around me.
Yeah, no, that's really cool because I think like a lot of people might feel it, but I think it gets like a little scary to say out loud because you want to feel secure in the job you have. And it's like, how do I balance that? Say, in my position, like I'm not trying to leave my job. I want to be there, but still to go to your boss. I'm lucky, like I have a boss I can chat through life ambitions beyond the job at hand. And he's great about that. But I can imagine, just especially with all the layoffs and how insecure people are feeling about job volatility, that it's hard to be like, oh, and by the way, I might want to be doing something totally different,
Yeah.
but don't fire me because I also need money.
Yeah. I can't speak to their financial situation. Seems like they can handle it. I'm very happy for them. I can't wait for that to be the state we're in. Again, feeling very fortunate. I won't ignore how fortunate I am. But again, the place I'm in at work right now, fulfillment and mentorship opportunities, and just seeing how I'm able to impact other people's careers positively, hopefully, keeps me there with no second thought or any feelings of discontent. I wish I
Yeah,
had more time to do more of the pottery or not end the day at whatever time it ends up being and just being
right.
done. But my weekends are so much fun. We don't have kids, so it's just easy. Saturday, Sunday, you want to do something, you do something, and then just walking in the studio, setting up whatever I want to do that day, my music, and just being in that creative space. It's the dream.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. And that reminds me of a question I wanted to ask you before we got into talking about photo shoots. You mentioned that there was a time in your career where you felt really unsatisfied and were having just a hard time. Did you get out of that because you changed your role or made some big change in your job and how that was, or was starting to do the pottery and spending more time with that creative outlet part of that?
I think something changed. I don't know how to describe it actually. Something mentally changed. That my approach to it and my ability to draw satisfaction from it. Maybe my relationships at work got better, and maybe people got more comfortable seeking help. Maybe I found it easier to offer help in a way that clicked for them. But I just got more satisfaction from work and still am. Ebbs and flows, like everything, but it's I'll take the past few years, couple of years,
Oh,
as
yeah.
a good upside. Yeah, I don't know that to answer your question, no, there was no role change.
Okay.
Um, not a promotion, not any. It's just maybe it's familiarity with. I joined Gusto 3.5 years ago, so maybe takes a year of just struggling through and finding your place, and maybe I found it. So there's just maybe the realization that this isn't, and I'm pointing at my studio. This isn't like now or never. Can keep building toward it, draw
Yeah.
satisfaction from it, while I'm still doing this tech thing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That makes sense. I think I was probing around there too because I had like kind of some similar feelings. I've been at the same company for a long time. I've changed my role a bit at some points, but I felt like I was having these moments where I was like really struggling because I was like, I love the people I work with. What I do is pretty cool. The clients I work with are great, but I just felt this kind of existential dread of does this have the right purpose? What am I doing with my life? And I always say it. I even joke with my clients sometimes. I don't think most of what we're doing is changing the world here. For me, I sell market research to tech company like product marketing and messaging team. And I think we're always doing really cool stuff. But like the second I started focusing on art and doing art, all of that just went away. I was like, oh, like I have a cool job. It's fun. Like I can go and relax, talk to cool people, make things happen, and not be like all cynical about am I like serving the greater good when it's if that's my top priority in life, like I can go volunteer. There's ways to like address that. I don't need to be all like sad and mopey about it. And as soon as I did that, it just went away. And actually just today I saw someone posted something on Instagram that said something about like how suppressing creativity can, I think it was like a Brene Brown thing or something, like can create all these negative feelings. And I was like, that sounds weird, but I think it's like exactly what I was dealing with.
Yeah, and I agree. And I'm also fortunate that my manager at work and I are basically on the same wavelength, and same place on that wavelength. They are also just seeking, it can't be the work that's going to give me all the satisfaction. So what is it otherwise, and what's the next thing to plug in there? Yeah, also didn't feel bad expressing this and feeling this and acting this way. This is a job and it's fine, and I'll do it the best way I can, but
Yeah.
it's, and having the support system for that, both at work, both at home, both at conversations with a financial advisor, everyone's just like,
No,
yeah,
that's my experience too. Everyone, yeah, that makes perfect sense. You are a full human being that wants to do other things. And I think when you're like grappling with what's the worst case scenario about having these conversations, or could it be embarrassing? That's the main thing that goes through my mind. I'm like mostly motivated by fear of embarrassment, but get over those, then usually you can get to do some things that are a little bit more fun.
yeah,
Okay, so another question I have is that you moved from Seattle to San Francisco, right? And then San Francisco to LA. When I was thinking about that, I was like, was the move to LA partly inspired by the ceramics thing? Because I know so many people flock to LA for the arts, but it's not like you weren't in creative hubs before. But then you said you've lost that community a bit and that's something to rebuild. What is the different experience in the different places?
yeah. So what brought us here is a mix of several things. San Francisco ended up just being the COVID place. So it was great. We loved it, but
Mm.
it had that scent in the air mentally for us. So that's one part that pushed us away from it, but we do love it. It's beautiful. We had a great time there. Maybe we'll come back one day, who knows? But it was a bit of that. It was quite a bit of Katie's career. Her pursuing her creative endeavor here in LA is what was the biggest catalyst. But definitely I rode that wave and I was like, okay, if we're doing this, let's finally find a place where there is a garage big enough where I can actually set all this up. Lucked out with a landlord who wasn't too strict, and let us install the outlet for a kiln and even
Mm.
have a sink in the studio, which makes the studio without water is tough. It's tough.
God, you get really strong.
Yeah. So it was definitely not for pottery, but pottery was part of the deal almost as we were talking about it, as we were looking for places. This was definitely one of those items on the list that had to be there. In San Francisco, for sure, the studio that I ended up going to the longest, both in general and in San Francisco. I've been to like 4 studios or so in San Francisco. That one was a great community. It also connected me with specific people who are still dear to me, dear friends and artists, inspiring artists. We have a term that our friends taught us, expanders, that we maybe can talk about. I don't know, are
Yeah.
you familiar with this?
No, I'm not.
Just surround yourself with people, or at least seek people who are doing that next level thing that you are
Mm.
seeking to achieve yourself. And once you see that happen and you connect with these people, and it's just people, when you peel off all the so-called fame or so-called aura almost around them, you just see that it becomes so much more tangible. And there are 2 of those definitely in my life that have gracefully me to just show me the stuff that I didn't know, that I don't know, and I'm learning a lot from them. And again, these are expanders in my life. So through that community, I still have some connections like those that I mentioned, but for the most part, yeah, it's me and my pottery studio now. Trying to figure out other ways to do that.
It's funny when you have your own studio, you don't really have to go out to do it, which is better for getting a lot of hours in. But I imagine there's a trade-off there, and maybe you might want to go seek that out anyway and do
It might
do
happen,
ceramics
we'll
other.
see. Yeah, so these 2 friends, one of them is in New York now, but no, one of them is about 2.5 hours from me. So we still end up just hanging out every now and then, or I'll come over and he has a couple of kilns. One of them is a gas kiln outdoor, which is a very different type of firing results. So I'll go in and we'll make stuff there. So there's that part of the community, but also trying to find opportunities here. There's a friend what day is it today? Wednesday, right?
Hmm.
On Friday, a friend is going to come here just because they want to see about pottery. They've never done pottery.
Oh, cool.
It'll be my first experimentation is like trying to teach pottery to someone. That'll be very interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're
maybe
on the next level now.
do that. There's a studio in Pasadena. I'm hoping to make more and more connections there. They have this like maybe triannual pottery sale, basically, pottery fair that they have going on that I'm hoping to join, help me set up some goals for myself this year for what I want to make, to be able to set up a booth, to be able to maybe try and sell. I have this silly goal for this year, which is one person who's not a friend or family who buys one piece of mine. Just a very low bar for this 2025.
Literally,
Uh,
I have written down
yeah.
one person I don't know subscribe to this newsletter.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
It resonates.
That really exposed that bubble. And I'm very appreciative for my family and friends who have been buying my stuff, either for themselves or gifting for others. It's very humbling and very beautiful to see. But it would
Yeah.
be if it just left that bubble.
I know. And I think what I'm learning, I think about this a lot when I'm out in the world looking at other people's stuff. And I'm like, I don't think I'm like necessarily my talent is anything beyond anyone else's by a long shot. It's like far below. But sometimes I see other stuff and I'm like, I could do something on that level if I spent the time to do it and if I like marketed it and made the connection. So it's like when I look at your stuff, I'm like, wow, this is like gorgeous. Like I would love to have this. And there's nothing that makes me look at your site and think like this has only been friends and family purchases so far. I
I
think it's
tricked you. I'm so appreciative of your kind words, Tom.
now I know better.
Yeah, garbage on sale. Yeah.
No, but it's just like, what channels have you gone through to push it out? And I don't think that is an easy part of it. It's like you were saying, it's like another little job. And when you have so
Absolutely.
many other things going on, you're like, that is, yeah. So have you done any of those like fairs or markets or things like that?
This will be my first one. Not even a pop-up, not anything. It was just only online. So my personal account, I would just post stuff that my business account, my pottery account was putting out. Spent very little on ads, but I did do that tiny bit. It's not a lot, but it is shocking to me that there's like over 500 followers for
Oh,
me. But
yeah.
I think it's
That's like,
like and it's I think easily a 75% not friends and family. So that's just, you know, people who appreciate the craft or enjoy what they're seeing. Definitely found that reels have been bringing in the most followers. So I need to make more of those, but it's just so much more work. Time to learn the next Adobe thing and maybe a little bit of Premiere and figuring out how to produce these more easily and at the quality that I like, and we'll take it from there. But yeah, again, 2025, a very simple goal. One person I don't know buys one thing, and we'll see.
yeah. Maybe I'll have a few people I don't know subscribe to this newsletter and read this interview, and then they'll know where to get all of their Christmas presents. Because truly,
Yeah.
so question also, because I think when I look at your work, I'm like, this is beautiful, but also the glazes, that's the part that kind of takes it to that next level. And I love what you've done. Are you mixing your own glazes and doing that piece in your own studio also?
No, I'm mixing them, yes, but not the one creating the recipes. So I buy dry glaze materials. The first studio I went to in Seattle, he had glazes I really liked. And
Uh-huh.
asked him what company it was from, and then just went on their website forever and ever and just picked the ones I really wanted to try. In my garage, there's now 14 5-gallon buckets filled with liquid glaze, so mixed glaze. And yeah, first of all, thank you for saying that again. I appreciate it. Some of those glazes are what on the store or on the Instagram account. Some are from that gas kiln firing that I mentioned, so soda firing that
Oh,
I was
cool.
doing at Turn Studios barn. End up with just incredible results. Yeah,
Oh,
which is
yeah. That's,
again the expander here is just it's not even it's not doing the situation a good service. It's I didn't even know that there is that type of firing. So connecting with these two friends and going there and just doing the soda firing for the first time, just seeing what it takes and how technically very feasible that is. Now I have, and it's right behind the monitor here in the backyard, is sitting another kiln, a dismantled kiln that I'm hoping to turn one day into gas kiln and just have that same type of firing
Oh,
here.
cool.
I would never know to even need to do that. I would.
Yeah.
So these people are just very important in one's life. So if you see, if you mentioned you seeing someone creating art that you like, and technically you're like, maybe I can do that. Reaching out to them turns out is the
That's
best
a
thing.
good idea.
Yeah.
Teach me. That's why I'm making all these people join me on interviews and be like,
Happy to teach you.
yeah, no, if next time I'm in LA, because man, I had a real love-hate relationship with ceramics. We actually were going to do a soda firing. So I took 2 terms at Portland Community College of ceramics. This is a plug for anyone thinking about taking art classes. I just took the best classes there. And they did so many different types of firing. Like I got to do raku firing, which was really fun. Um, and then want to term like a small list, a few people can do soda firing. It involves a bunch of wood, I think, if I recall. Like you have to like whatever
There's
they were
yeah,
going to do.
there's sawdust in there sometimes. There's
Yeah,
different mixtures, I think, but yeah.
I did do a soda firing, I think, but I was going to do a wood firing. I don't know. Anyway, there was a ton of bees in
Which
the
I also didn't know existed.
yeah, there was a ton of bees in the wood pile. So we didn't get to do one, that kind of firing. So everyone was all
Wow.
excited. But then we did the soda firing. But I think this is how I did all of my ceramics, at least the first term for sure, is I would put all this time into making the stuff. And then at the very end, they'd be like, you have to glaze it now. And I'd be like, oh, crap, and like just dunk it in some random thing and be like, oh, there it is. It's like this thing that I've worked like months on. Yeah, so that's something I tried to do differently the next term. It went a little differently, but yeah, how do you do that? Do you like plan out like the whole package from the start, like what the shape is going to be and like the form, function, and glaze, or do you just see how you feel along the way?
Yeah, I'm more on the latter option. Up until now, there was no plan. It's just come in. Either there's an actual request, someone made a request for something, and I'll end up
Okay.
it for them, or something I really want to try and learn how to do. Or the third option is one of the ways that I ended up connecting with other ceramicists, taking workshops, which I also would highly recommend doing. It builds a community, it creates these expander moments for you where just it's so demystified and it's just okay, this is how I do it. I'm going to try and do it and I'm going to succeed doing it. Some of these workshops had specific types of pieces that you would need to bring over. For
Hmm.
example, you can see on my website there's a stenciled piece. For those you want more of a straight wall to be able to apply the stencils very easily.
Okay.
But now, and that's again tying back to that pottery fair, I made a list for myself, imagining what a nice kind of tent booth situation would be. I like making large serving bowls, like 14, 15, 16 inches. I don't see many people going up to those, buying them and dragging them, hauling them around for the whole day. So I'm trying to make things of different sizes. So I just made a list of a combination of smaller bowls,
Yeah.
some spoon rests, some sieves, just a combination. So now I actually do have an actual list and a goal that I'm working against, but otherwise it's either what I've been asked to make or what feels nice at the moment. As far as
Yeah.
glaze thinking and all of that, not at all.
You're like me, just dunk it in
Just
something at the end and you're
every
like, we'll see what
every
happens.
day figure out the next decision.
Yeah. Well, glazing is just it's fun and I felt as much as I wished I had put more forethought into it, like it's so cool to see it come out. And there was rarely a moment where I was like, this looks bad. There was sometimes I was like, I wish that like had thought of something more interesting, but other it was like it's all
Yeah.
good outcomes in my mind for the most
Yeah.
part.
I
So
think I think that part I might spend more time on when taking more time of my life and is more a thing that I'm specifically targeting to market and sell. So I would like
okay.
maybe it'll find me, maybe the niche is going to find me and I'm going to make more of those. And that is what people will find that they like, and I'll make even more of those. But right now, it's completely an open question. It's just sit down and figure out what goes on in the moment.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Okay. What advice or like thoughts do you want to leave us all with in terms of anyone thinking about pursuing a kind of a creative career going down that track in general or specifically with ceramics?
First of all, I want to point out that it sounds like now is the right time for you to do a photo shoot. I'm noticing the sun really dropping exactly now. Advice for people.
Yeah, just what advice would you have for someone thinking about creating a new kind of artistic career path for themselves at this point in their career or at that point? And again, it could be either with careers with ceramics in specific.
I appreciate you asking. I don't know that I'm exactly like the right kind of guru to do this. I feel like I stumbled into this.
Some good stuff to me so far.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I feel like I was blessed maybe with the type of curiosity that this made possible. Just I'm enjoying failing up almost, like just enjoying failing on to the next step. So I think if one can bring that attitude of, especially with pottery, I think that's years of failure before you start really producing something you're enjoying and are proud of. But bringing that type of attitude, I think definitely helps. For me, these conversations, and this is one of those, just making you dig into what you find pleasure in here. What is motivating you? What is bringing you joy in that respect is what's going to actually motivate you. I'll find the next kind of spark to maybe explore and the next kind of inspiration, basically, and just follow that lead. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm glad I pushed you to answer because I love the term failing up. I feel like that well describes
I definitely did
what
not
it feels
coin it.
like. No, but you said it today. You mapped it to me. Feeling up and expanders, many other things I'm gonna think about. And how can anyone interested in looking at your ceramics find you?
Oh, so Sivoov, the word I mentioned earlier, meaning spin in Hebrew, Sivoov.com. That would be the website, or Sivoov on Instagram.
Perfect. Thank you so much for chatting, Yoav. This has been amazing. I hope to get to see you and Katie again in
Yes,
person, not in the
please
too
come on
distant
over.
future. And I can show you my version of failing up in ceramics in your studio.
Nice. Yeah, and thank you so much for having me and even considering me to join this.
Absolutely. Thanks, Yoav.
Thank you.